Because you know darn well, if they know you understand, if they know that you understand how they feel, then they will potentially understand how you feel. But if we take things personally and we get offended, we block the opportunity to learn we need to learn. We block the opportunity for the person we're hearing it from to feel safe in expressing themselves because we're offended.
Welcome to the Man Maker Show. This is where weak excuses die and men of all ages are held accountable to rise stronger, bolder, and fearless. Grit, ambition, and authenticity are not optional. They are the price you pay to become the man you are meant to be. If you are ready to face the fire, take charge, and own your future, then your journey starts here. And now your host, Brad Wolgamott.
Welcome back to the Man Maker Show. B-Rad Wolgamott coming at you once again from Studio San Jose del Cabo. Like that backdrop? That's my back window. It's a window with palm trees and then a wall. Not much of a view, but it's a nice little backdrop. I'm in our master bedroom of our beautiful hacienda here in Resort Acre, which is a beautiful boutique treehouse hotel. And then there are, 14 or 15 homes in here, which we are a proud owner of. So hope you guys are doing great. Welcome back. Hope you've been enjoying the show. Season 3 has been challenging, getting lots of creative responses. Some people like it. Some people hate it. Some people love it. But most everybody consistently says very challenging. Really dipping into some belief principles that are difficult to deal with. Specifically that last episode, and it was my longest episode, and I'm not going to apologize, but I want to apologize because my goal is to keep them under 30, and that was 37. But it was so heavy and so deep that I felt that I rushed it. I would have had to cut things out, and I cut things out anyways. In fact, I think every one of these episodes I'll have to circle back and go deeper in each one of them, but I feel like for the first 3 or 4 seasons, I got so much stuff burning in my heart that I just got to cover it as fast as I can, then we can circle back and take a deeper dive. But I hope you've been enjoying it. I'm certainly enjoying being with you. Men, are you getting stronger? Men, are you getting wiser? Men, are you getting more compassionate? Men, are you getting more patient? Men, are you getting more assertive, not aggressive? Men, are you going deep, looking inside and not looking for biased confirmation, but looking for things you need to change, things you need to work on? It's so common. I've read 4 books and being down here now the first 2 weeks, and I have to really argue with myself to write down things that challenge me because I'm looking for the But what I look for is OSMs. Some people call them snap moments, the more less than PG rated, the oh shit moments, when you're like, oh snap, that's me. I need to own that. And, it's really important we do that. But it's also equally as important that we not only do that, because there are some people that are so critical, they never create any confidence. There are some people that are not critical of themselves at all, and all they are is arrogant. So it's holding that intention in the middle there is the truth for everybody, and we all have to make our adjustments. Today, I want to talk to you about characteristics of royalty. And what I mean by that, as a man that believes in Jesus, that I believe that we are heirs to Christ. And that our identity comes in understanding what God says about us as sons and daughters. And if you don't believe in Christ, you know that I know, or how I feel about this. But in case you don't, it isn't something I measure my friendship by. It's just something I believe in. You might believe in, I don't know, fire trucks, whatever your thing is. Well, you might believe in a different ideology of politics. That's fine. I'm not overly concerned about that. I believe strongly in focusing on what we have in common without tripping over things that we don't. And if we keep an open mind, then we learn something, right? But I don't think you'll learn anything from me if you're defensive. I don't think it's even worth listening to if you're just listening for biased confirmation. So really, it's about digging in. And I think as I go through these 7, 8, 9, 10 qualities, I have 25 written down. There's no way I'm going to get through them all. But I'm just going to go through as many as I can in an amount of time, and I'll probably do a part 2, part 3 of the difference is between being an orphan and being a spirit of adoption. By that, I mean, some people call it prince and pauper, right? If you're a prince, that means you're part of the royal court. Pauper means that you're part of the poverty sect. We either have confidence knowing that we are great and able and capable, therefore use that authority to serve and empower and uplift, or we believe that we're poor or we're weak or we're not valuable, and so we compensate with either being a non-involved person, right, just a church mouse, or we compensate with being arrogant and a bully and egotistical to prove that we're not a pauper by being overbearing and sometimes referred to as a jerk. Now, I've done all of these, and it's taken me 50 years of my life to understand the difference between a pauper and a prince, between an orphan and someone that's a spirit of adoption. And honestly, it took me to the complete collapse of my life before I realized who I really was. And I really prayed that somehow in these messages, you don't have to go through the same pain channel to get to the education. If you can embrace that you are where you need to be, to learn what you need to know, to get what you're asking for, then you won't have to go through the pain. But the problem is, we typically don't change until the pain of not changing is greater than the pain of changing. And that's the problem. How do you beat that? How do you avoid that? You listen and you discern what do you do to change? Because I'm going to tell you something for sure. It is easier to fix the problem in private with mentorship and counsel and studying and prayer and insight and affirmations and a dedication to hold yourself accountable to new thoughts and behaviors than it is to do it after public failure. Because in public failure, you have to deal with the crowd. You have to deal with everybody knowing your stuff. And you have to deal with the embarrassment. You have to deal with their judgment. It's an awful. And most people heavily medicate instead of really going in and dedicating themselves to making the adjustment. So I'll do my best to help you avoid the train wreck. It is interesting that some people that listen to this broadcast still judge me for my failures, and everybody has the right to do what they're going to do, but I find that that's very odd that I'm trying to use my failures as publicly as I can to help people avoid making the problems, and yet people take that opportunity to smack in the face about my failures. It's kind of funny because it doesn't hurt. I mean, it hurts a little because I'm human, but it doesn't hurt much because I realized that nobody that was sane and wanted to be better would be smashing on me while I am using my pain, making it public, and trying to talk about how people can avoid my pain. No, nobody would do that if they were in a normal place in their life. So instead of getting angry with them, I really feel bad for them. I feel bad for you that you're in a place where you're judging when you really, I can't tell you what you should be doing or shouldn't do, but I would hope that you'd be celebrating the fact that I'm public about my pain and I'm growing to get better and I'm trying to use my pain to help others avoid it. I mean, to me, I think that's the greatest use of failure. So I try to trade my judgment of that person for mercy. I feel bad. I feel bad that they don't walk in awareness of a presence of a loving God and loving people and loving friends so that they can heal. Because only hurting people hurt people. I'm not going to beat that dead horse too long. What I want to talk about is some of these qualities. And the first one I want to talk about, maybe it's a bridge to that, is someone that is in a prince as compared to a pauper, enjoys seeing others outgrow them. Okay? And I need to ask you real quick, do you enjoy that or are you threatened by that? In your work, do you hope that people pass you up as a result of you teaching them? Now, being passed up by politics or being passed up because of favor from, I don't know, your dad owns a company or something, that's one thing. But I hope that you enjoy seeing others outgrow you. Because if you want to multiply your meaning, you have to lead leaders. And if you lead followers, they'll never pass you up. You need to mentor people that are going to do far more than you did. I'm going to take a chance and throw a name out here. And I'm usually not supposed to do that, but I'm going to use an example of a friend of mine named Dean Whalen, who I mentored for a relatively short period of time in his life and my life. But I would like to say that in a small way, I poured into his mind seeds of thoughts that he planted and then turned into magnificent success and messages. He's one of the most profound speakers in the world. He has, I'm sure, recorded and sold millions of copies of audios and is heralded around the world in his leadership principles. And without a doubt has gone further than I did in our world of business and finance. And I'm so proud of him. And I'm not threatened by it in the slightest bit. I'm so honored that I'm a part of the story. And I hope that you have that you enjoy seeing around you, past you. And as soon as you see someone begin to get really confident and begin to really grow, do you feel a sense of insecurity? Do you feel like, oh, I need to knock them down, or I need to slow them down? Or do you feel like, go boy, go girl, keep going? What does your spirit tell you? And check it and fix it. Second thing about someone that works from a spirit of adoption or a prince royalty identity is that you love solving problems with people, not for people. You see, a lot of people in leadership feel like no one can do the job as well as they do. And they become a control freak. They have to have their fingers in everything. And if they don't create the idea doesn't go anywhere. They like to step in and solve the problem, right? Many of you have seen that video about the husband and wife, and the woman has a nail sticking out of her head, and she's trying to explain the pain and the agony. And he goes, you have a nail in your head. And she's like, oh, stop with the nail. It's always about the nail. It's this throbbing pain. It's like something stuck in my head. And he's like, yeah, you have a nail in your head. She goes, and she gets all mad. What I need you to do is just understand, just listen, just care for me, just. And he's like, okay, wow, well, that pain must be really difficult. must be really difficult to deal with. If you've seen that video, you haven't, Google nail in the head marriage counsel, and you will laugh your butt off. Because that's the tension. It's somewhere between, look, here's the answer, let me fix it for you, and saying, I see your pain, what do you think you can do about it? Subtle difference. Us guys, it's a freaking nail. Pull the nail out, you'll be fine. But then we just fix the problem. We don't fix the source of the problem, the root. And so in almost all cases, if we teach people how to solve their own problem by giving them a thought process, then the next time they come up with something similar to that, they can use that same thought process to find solutions. But if we fix them for them, yeah, we get the macho bravado. I did it. I was the hero. I was the gladiator. I slayed the dragon. But the person that you're mentoring or in love with, or your child, is not any more powerful and will find themselves in the exact same situation at a later time in life. Once again, I apologize in advance for my coughing and my snuffing. I've got this permacold. Finally, I'm going to get some good help from a couple of specialists and figure out what's going on. So I appreciate your patience. This has been an incredibly difficult season, but who cares? So number 3, a person of a spirit of adoption, a person that knows who they are, that's anchored in their identity, is someone that knows and acts like they are secure in their love. As a Christian, it basically means I know that God loves me. I know it. When we doubt that we're loved, we have to act in a way that we have to keep earning it. If you spend any time reading the Bible, one of the great problems is what we call works-based faith, that you have to earn it, that you have to do and do and do in order to earn God's grace and God's love and God's favor. And then the deeper you go into what Jesus taught, the more you realize that's not the case, that he paid the full price, that grace and adoption is based upon what he did, not what we've done. And it's an outrageous gift, a gift, because by faith we receive this. As we lean into the truth of what God did for us, putting on flesh and bone and being on the cross and being the final atonement for our sin, when we recognize that gift, it's a different thing. So problem is, if we don't know that we're loved, if you're in a relationship and you don't know that you're loved, you feel like you have to keep earning it. You feel like you have to keep doing. You feel like you have to keep saying. You feel like that a large part of your life is about earning versus knowing. You see, when you know it, then you operate in a different level of confidence as compared to, oh, I'm not sure, they kind of feel this way, or Maybe they're happy, maybe they're sad. You know, my early issues in Christianity was I thought sometimes God loved me, sometimes he was mad as hell at me. And I didn't realize that God's good all the time, that he's always in love with me, that it's me that's messed up, turning my back on God, not God turning his back on me. You guys have an uphill battle if you don't have the faith, but you can still get through it. Because what I want you to get to a point is where confidence is a result of knowing that you don't have to keep earning it. You know that you're loved. The fourth characteristic I'm going to talk about is to operate with authority. When we operate with authority, in other words, we know that we are sons, daughters. We are princes, princesses. We are grafted. We are adopted to the King of the universe. All right? When we operate with authority, when you are an employer and you have a team or a staff of people within your influence, you have to operate with authority. If you don't, you'll be usurped. You will be manipulated. You will be abused if you don't act with authority. And I think in our case, in our life, is most of us don't operate in authority because we think it's arrogance. Because we've heard people talk about people being cocky or people being materialistic. And so we play ourselves down and call it humble, when in reality it's not humble. I would use the word maybe meek's the wrong word, because I know there's a spiritual concept of meek, but basically what it says, I'm going to play small, I'm going to play weak, I'm going to play backup, I am not going to operate from authority, and nothing happens in that position. I don't care if you're a quarterback, I don't care if you're an executive at a company, I don't care if you're a father, I don't care if you're a pastor. If you don't operate from a place of authority, anchored in the identity that I don't need to tell the whole world that I am, I just act as I am. I act confidently, I act boldly, I act compassionately, I think things through, I process how this action, this choice, decision, these words will be received. I think much bigger picture because I'm operating out of authority. And when I operate out of authority, and it's coupled with this humility and this grace and this kindness and this compassion, with the confidence and boldness of knowing who you are, you're a king and a kingmaker. This allows you to move into the fifth trait that I think is important, and that is that you're comfortable around all kinds of people. I mean, Jesus is famous for this. If you've read the Bible, about having dinner with taxpayers and not afraid of prostitutes and lepers and just the worst of worst, because he knew who he was, right? So he set the standard and people came to his level. He didn't feel like he had to drop himself to their level to get around them, right? And that's a big delineation of being comfortable and confident around all kinds of people, right? When you get around people that are making poor choices, do you make them with them because you want to be accepted by them? Or do you continue to stay strong in your integrity and character and encourage people by your actions, not by your judgment or your self-righteousness, but just by your emboldened decision to be who you are, and let them come up to you? I'm a man of faith. When someone swears around me, they usually apologize, right? Not that I don't swear, okay? When I do, I try to apologize. I'm a guy, I'm going to make my mistakes, but usually, I was with a guy the other day here talking about some real estate deals, and he used the F-bomb a lot. And every time he says, oh man, excuse my French, oh, excuse me, oh, pardon me. And I just had to chuckle. I'm like, it's such a habit, but when he's around a man of character, the spirit checks him to where he apologizes, where other people, he might just let it fly. And don't get me wrong, I don't do that as a form of pressure or judgment. It's just that I'm comfortable around someone that cusses. I'm comfortable around someone that has a homosexual belief system. I'm comfortable around people that are extremely liberal because I don't feel like I need to change them. I don't feel like I need to change to be around them. If they can accept me as the way I am, that's great. If they can't, then I just move along. It's no big deal. I don't feel like the need to make them be different, but I find most people become different when they're around someone that knows who they are by the decisions they make. And, you can misunderstand that message, but basically what it says, I'm not better than you. You're not better than me. We can be cool being different. I don't demand your subordination. I don't demand your agreement. I am going to speak my piece. And if you won't give me the opportunity to speak my piece, then we're not going to hang out, because I'm not going to hang around bullies. It's as simple as that. The sixth trait I'll talk about is being hard to offend. And I think this parlays into that last comment a minute ago, because one of the characteristics that I think lower self-image people has is they take things personally. If you've read the book by Miguel Ruiz called The Four Agreements, one of the tenets of the Four Agreements is to not take things personally. My God, if everybody in the world could read that book right now, we'd probably have a better place, because everybody is so easily offended and so polarized. If you're watching this message and you're one of them, well, can you just do some introspection and stop being offended and really just work on letting people be themselves? The world will be a better place if we just don't be so polarized. But that's not my point is. My point is that we personally, as sons, as leaders, need to learn how to not be offended, that we can agree to disagree. I've had people say to me, no, Brad, we can't agree to disagree. I'm like, well, then we're not going to have relationship. I've had bosses tell me that. I've had authorities in my life tell me that. And I'm like, nope, I'm not going to be in covenant with you. I'm not going to honor this relationship. If you're going to demand, if 99% loyalty is 100% disloyalty, I'm out. It's a cult. Not going to do it. You shouldn't either. But the idea of being hard to offend means we can agree to disagree and not be offended. If somebody says things, I was on a couple conversations a few weeks ago that really hit me, where someone was really hurt by someone else said, and I'm like, did they say you were, or did they express their feelings about something and you took it personally? So there's a difference between when someone, I talked about last week, when someone tries to attack your character assassination, heavy criticism, heavy condemnation, where they say you are. Those are offensive, right? And being offended is something that's going to happen, but you need to rise above it and recognize that their offense is coming out of their pain, not their power. That they're wounded, and so they're hurting you back. It's wrong, but understand the source so you don't take it as personally and as deeply. It's always going to hurt a bit because you're human. But when you take the offense to the level to say, because you were mean to me, I'm just by being mean back to you, well, now we've taken things personally and we've made it personal. And that's a problem. And that breaks down a lot of relationships because people can't manage that. Recognize when someone says something, they may be expressing their feelings. When we talk about powerful communication relationship, if your partner can't express their feelings about how they're feeling, you don't have a relationship. And if every time they talk about the feelings, you take it as a personal assault, that's a problem. You're now unsafe for that person to share their feelings. Let people express themselves. Repeat what you've heard and say, if I hear you right, this is what you're saying. Is there more? I want to fully understand. Because you know darn well, if they know you understand, if they know that you understand how they feel, then they will potentially understand how you feel. But if we take things personally and we get offended, we block the opportunity to learn we need to learn. We block the opportunity for the person we're hearing it from to feel safe in expressing themselves because we're offended. I could spend hours on that topic alone, but I won't for the sake of time. So I'm just going to cover a couple more because I'm already at 23 minutes. So let me just hit one more, maybe two more. A prince, someone of royal identity, dreams of making huge impact. All right, they don't have small dreams. They dream of making huge impact, right? Because they know who they are. They know that they're a son of a king. And if you're the son of a king, my goodness, you should think pretty big. You should think really big. You should think regionally, nationally, globally. I mean, when I was 18 years old, I was being taught these things. And by the time I was 22, I was thinking, gosh, could I ever do it? And then by turn 25, I realized I am kind of making it. By the time I was 28, I was speaking around the world. In my mid-30s, I spoke all over the world in many countries and continents. Man, I'm glad I didn't doubt it when I didn't see it. I'm glad I just gave myself a chance to do what I could every day, to learn, to grow, to work hard, to get up early, to go to bed late, to drive the miles, to make the phone calls, to do the work, to keep studying, to make an impact. People of royalty mindset dream of making huge impact. If you're not dreaming of huge impact, I say you have an orphan spirit. Forgive me, I don't mean that to offend you. If you're offended, it means you have an orphan spirit. Sorry, but I'm saying the orphan spirit is where you lack your value, your ability to make impact. You doubt whether you need to be significant in the world to help the kingdom, to help God's kids, to help families, to help the broken. I don't care if you're a Christian or not. Just be part of making the world a better place, for crying out loud. People of royalty identity dream of making huge impact. And you find your way, right? I've got a really dear friend of mine. His name's Jamie Head, and he has a podcast. I don't know exactly the podcast, but it goes by Magus, Magus. And he has a powerful message every week. And he has a very unique delivery. He has a very unique approach that a lot of people probably don't understand because they don't listen long enough to hear his heart of an all-good God, of love, of grace, of kindness, right? That we live here in Asha, as he calls it, which is heaven on earth in my interpretation. And all he dreams of is making the world love each other and stop acting in ways that hurt and steal and maim and destroy and tear down. He's so intensely passionate about waking people up to just be good and get over it. I encourage you to listen. He has a unique style, and I think that what makes him special. He's not afraid to be who he believes he is in his style. And I love him. And his dad has been a major impact player in my life for a long time. A lot of what I am is a result of that family. So in any event, the last one I'm going to talk about is someone of great royalty initiates contact with people. If you find yourself sheepishly in a crowd, if you find yourself unwilling, hey, how you doing? My name's Brad. Hey, nice to meet you. Hey, if you find yourself waiting for people to approach you, you're probably an orphan. Don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not trying to tear you down. I just want you to get to a point where you're like, I want you to initiate contact. I guess the easiest way to say it is you develop a deep fascination in the story behind what they're showing you. We all put the mask on. Here I am. I'm this tall. This is my fashion. This is my haircut. This is what I am. This is my wife. This is my kid. But underneath that, there's 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years of story. Develop a deep fascination of what's going on behind the screen. To know where they're from and why they are the way they are. And your compassion, your willingness to suffer with, to go deep with someone will explode when you initiate making contact with people. I have a friend down here. His name's Paul Lamb, and he's just I call him a cartoon because he's just this bigger than life personality, big glasses, platinum blonde hair, probably in his 50s, tons of personality, huge laugh. He's here for, I don't know, a month. He has 17 guests coming to visit with him, and almost all of them are from all different types, from music to art to movies to you name it. Everybody loves him because he initiates contact. We played pickleball the other night with a couple, and they're staying with Paul and his wife, and they're like, well, how'd you meet him? We were at this van conference music festival. He's walking by the chair. He looked at us, said hi. We said hi. He just plopped his chair down right in the middle of our campsite, and we've been friends ever since. I'm like, that's royalty. That's initiating contact. That's called, let me see what we have in common. Let's go deep discovery versus let me measure you. Let me make sure we're politically aligned before we really get into stuff, right? I love that. So there's 8 royalty qualities. There's many more. This will be a part 2, part 3. But write them down. Check yourself on them. Become them. And things that you're struggling at, give it to God. Get with your mentor. Confirm that you're actually having an issue with it. Right? Am I this way? Do I do this? I think I am, but can you help me? Like, have quality conversation. Do you have somebody in your life that you can say, do I do this? Do you see this in me? What do you see in me? What would make me better? What is it you see in my marriage? What is it you see in my parenting? What is it you see in my health? Right? I was on a conversation with a guy last night, late, and he noticed I was coughing and hacking the whole time. He's like, you okay, bro? I'm like, dude, I've been sick for like 6 months. And he's like, well, tell me about your health regimen. Blah, 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 blah. And he's like, okay, all right, okay, hold on. Here's the next things I want you to do. He just boldly stepped in and said, do this and this and this, and don't do anything else, do that. And I'm like, wow. Well, what do I have to lose? I'm like on 18th regimen of how do I get well. So I'm going after it, starting with ivermectin. Obviously very controversial to a lot of people, but there's been a lot of evidence showing, and maybe that'll help get rid of this stupid virus that's going on in my head and chest. So I appreciate your patience. I appreciate your grace. I appreciate your love. I appreciate your comments. Bradley Wolgamott, man maker. Let's find those Prince qualities. Let's become great men. Let's spread the good word. Let's be significant. Let's be outgoing. Let's go make new friends. Let's expand the message and keep on keeping on, baby. Man Maker Show out.